I want to talk to you about innovation, and we've seen a lot of. If there is one thing I can say about the sector, is that it is quite resilient. It's amazingly resilient. Well, we've seen all the pivoting going on, and there was a lot of collaborative work with cities, with districts. It's been amazing to watch. What's the one thing that stood out for you that you think will stick around after the pandemic in terms of innovation and how the industry is structured right now?
Yeah, actually, you asked for one thing, but I'll actually speak about two things. One specific to what I think is going to happen from an industry perspective in terms of technology, and then the other piece that I hope that's going to stick around is what happened in terms of the development of these great boulevards and patio space and opportunities within smaller municipalities, even large urban areas. So from a technology perspective, certainly that's exploded within our industry. You've heard various different CEOs across the industry talk about the fact that what occurred in 10 months, potentially might not have occurred in 10 years in terms of embracing different forms of technology, whether that's related to, delivery, or whether it's related to touchless payment and menus that are now
Or even legislation, right?
Absolutely.
Even legislation being allowed to deliver alcohol. I mean, these things were not moving at all as policy issues, and now suddenly, hopefully, we don't go back. But now suddenly, your restaurateurs can actually deliver a nice bottle of wine that
More
matches their
options.
great food, right? I mean, it's been that concert of those things, right?
Absolutely, it's helped to push those things from a legislative perspective, and I think that also relates back to what I was talking about in terms of the development of the patios and boulevards and places where that legislation didn't exist. We weren't able to build out into streets and take up more space and have that type of outdoor experience. So those are two things that I think I hope and I expect from a technology perspective that those things will stay. Whether it's QR code on your table for the menu, so that folks aren't handing up menus, or how people are utilizing technology to take their brands outside of their four walls into new experiences. And then, yes, absolutely, from a legislative perspective, I think for me, and again, I'm in the industry, so obviously I'm biased, and I know that we're safe, and I'm looking forward to getting back out to restaurants. But to be able to walk down in my small community where I am today, where I happen to own this cafe, I don't own it anymore, but to see how they basically exploded out into the street and created this incredible type of almost European type experience, within our small community. Those are the things that I think and I hope will continue to linger within our industry, because I think it just creates an entirely new experience and a new opportunity for our industry to realize an even greater opportunity to survive and thrive. And I think we all know as an industry, this is not one where there's significant margins, right? I mean, we're typically dealing with single digit margins. So the pandemic has created significant issues for us, but some of these ways in which we're able to promote our brands and develop the ways in which we create new experiences for our guests, I expect will linger, and I also hope and expect that those will provide greater opportunities for restaurants to realize a greater opportunity economically to exist and survive and thrive. And to your point too, we are very resilient, right? I mean, it's an industry that's been around forever, and people find ways in which everybody's using the term pivot, and there's so many interesting ways in which restaurants have been able to find ways to survive. And you brought up alcohol. I mean, that's a significant opportunity for us. It doesn't ensure that you're going to survive. It's just it helps, and it will be an add-on once we get outside of this pandemic. Whether that's related to the ability to deliver, as you suggest, or even the legislation around wholesale pricing of alcohol for restaurants in various different provinces. Finally, we're starting to have real good, robust discussion, and people are moving towards changing some of those antiquated laws and legislation that's existed for a long, long time.
No, it's wonderful. I would say, I mean, when you look at the sector trying to survive, along the way, of course, you've had vendors and suppliers really supporting the industry. When you think about companies like Cisco and Gordon Foods, they've stepped up. At least that's what I'm hearing, and based on discussions I've had with some restaurateurs, they've been quite helpful. Would you agree with that?
I would agree. I would absolutely agree. I mean, I can't speak for every specific vendor and every relationship, but I mean, you just mentioned, two, incredible distributors that are great partners, not vendors, but great partners to so many restaurants across the country. And yeah, to your point, they really stepped up. I mean, this is the industry that they exist in. So I mean, obviously
Exactly.
there's reasons as to why they want to do that.
They want your members to be successful.
They want somebody to sell to at the end of all this. Is what they want.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Right? And I've been involved in similar discussions with industry folks, and I've mentioned people will remember who helped them. Right. We live in a world where relationships are still very important.
Lots of family companies as well, family-owned companies. Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
So the people who, stepped towards folks and tried to help them through this, unbelievably trying time and, catastrophe really in our industry, I believe will be remembered and will, maybe in the short term they had to, realize, some hardship themselves to support, but over the long term, I think that they will be the ones that restaurant companies will really look to develop, great long-term relationships with.
All right. Well, listen, it's been a great discussion. I want to ask you one last question. Talk about the Restaurants Canada show. I said off the top, Sylvain and I met there last in person. Sylvain, you and I we've seen each other virtually, but the last time in person was at the show. So tell us, give us some highlights of the show. It's virtual. It was a show based on experience, but I was on a media preview for the show and lots of entertainment and investment in trying to bring that experience to life. So give me a couple of highlights. What can folks look forward to for the RC show?
Other than me speaking?
Yes, exactly. That was the first on my list. I was going to say that right off the top. You took my speaking points.
First and foremost, we have. Right. Okay, after that, is there any reason to stick around? Give me a few reasons to stick around the show after Sylvain.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, it is going to be different this year. It'll be virtual. Unfortunately, we can't bring everybody together. And our industry is about bringing people together. But I'm excited about it because it's an opportunity for us to come together in industry in a very trying time. And our theme for this year is feeding the recovery, which is perfect theme as we all work through the challenges that we've been dealing with over the last 11 months. And as much as it's going to be different, all of the attendees can expect some of the amazing things that you typically get from the RC show. We have world-class content. We have over 100 panelists coming to speak at the show. We've got great ways in which for vendor partners to interact with operators. We've created a whole virtual means in which for people to get together and allow for vendors to share their thoughts in terms of their products and services. So all of the great world-class content that you're typically used to will be there. It just will happen virtually. And as we were talking about earlier as well, the great thing about doing this virtually is it means that we can include so many more people. We've got more international involvement. We've got folks from coast to coast to coast, coming for the first time. So it's an exciting show. It's 4 action-packed days of great content and information. It's really a show that if you're in the industry, you shouldn't miss. And I look forward to seeing you folks there and also all of your listeners joining in. We're looking forward to the show.
And if we want to register for the show or learn more, restaurantscanada.ca, is that the best place to start that journey?
rcshow.com is the best place to start that journey. And so all of the information's there. And right now, tickets are half price before the 28th. So get them while they're hot before they're gone.
While they're hot. All right. Yeah. Well, listen, that's great.
Yeah, a year ago, we were all roaming around the RC show, not thinking that it was likely the last major show before COVID. So it reminds the fact that the RC show is just around the corner reminds us that we've been in this for a year now. Yikes.
It's true. We were very lucky last year. We got it in, just a couple of weeks before, the world shut down.
Well, people were talking about the virus already. I remember we spoke about it on the panel I was on, actually. Yeah. So it was already there. It's just public health took over and then basically everyone stayed home.
Agreed.
Yeah. At that point, it was all potential and what could it be? But there's a risk, and then it would cast a shadow over the industry. We had no idea it would be a full eclipse of the sun. But this too shall pass. The medical miracle of the vaccines is here.
Exactly.
The industry will rise again. I mean, listen, I asked my wife to marry me in a restaurant, so there's a very restaurants are just a big part of our lives. So we look forward again to joining you, the three of us, perhaps over a nice glass of wine or whatever. So Todd, thanks so much for being on the Food Professor podcast. Great speaking with you, and thanks for taking the time in what is no doubt a busy week for you to join us.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that was a great interview. I mean, what I thought interesting with Todd was this transition, and I've been part of the transition as well, from being an industry expert to being an advocate. And I think, he's brought that deep industry perspective, but they've got their work cut out for them. They've got I like their new campaign, Imagine a World Without Restaurants. And I liked his idea about getting government, let's stop putting money into getting people to stop going to restaurants, and let's focus on when things are back into normal, getting people into restaurants. I thought that was the right direction. What did you think?
Yeah, I think, it's really about this risk society we're all in now. It's about, like we talked about, fear, managing fears. I think this is the new reality, is that we know this is not going to go away anytime soon. The virus or variants or anything really will stick around for a while, whether we have a vaccine for whatever menace is out there or not. It really is a matter of how you support people, how you create an experience for them. That's the business of restaurants, right? Is to recreate an experience, or else why would you go out in the first place? And so I think I was impressed by Todd's awareness. He did accept a job in the middle of a pandemic.
He's certainly a man up for a challenge, that's for sure.
And he's well equipped to deal with this issue. He's got the experience. He grew up professionally in one of the best organizations in the business. And so he understands supply chain management as well, which is really key nowadays. So yeah, no, absolutely. I think he understands the big picture, and he understands the messaging and what needs to happen moving forward.